Get what we need.
And this is this week's Closet Classic.
Good evening. Welcome to our town. Say it like it is. My name is Virginia Mooney, and I'm your hostess for the evening. Tonight I have two special guests here, and two very fine young men who I've known for quite some time. Brian Lockard, who is our health agent, my far right, and he's also sanitarian, combination, I guess, health agent, sanitarian. And to my near right here is Todd, who is our environmental engineer, and I'm very proud of both of you boys, and I'm glad to have you on the show tonight. So why don't we do is start with you, Brian, and give us a little bit of background on yourself, and then we'll talk to Todd.
Okay. Well, thank you for having us here, Virginia.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Well, I've been with the town for 13 years now. I've started in January of '87. As you stated, I'm the health agent / sanitarian, so that involves a number of different programs. Health agents usually dealing with policy and administration. As a sanitarian, I'm also out in the field doing inspections, and if you wish, I can touch on, quickly on some of those areas that I get involved in concerning public health.
Sure, that's what we're here for.
Okay, I have a little bit of notes just in case, just to jog my memory. Probably one of the ones that people are more familiar with is dealing with food establishments. We license and inspect all the food establishments, which are, the restaurants, the cafeterias, the mobile vendors. Those will be the canteen trucks that you see through town. We inspect those at least twice a year. I actually have a couple of part-timers that help because we do have a number of them. We have close to 200 establishments within the town of Burlington.
That's a lot to cover.
It really is, and we're required to inspect them at least twice a year, and we do that and usually more. We also investigate complaints and foodborne illness reports.
I was going to say, you also have other things besides
That's correct.
Going on. Yeah.
Yep, and as well as when a new one is built or renovated, we're involved with the plan review and inspection of the new restaurant or renovated restaurant before they open. So that's a big area that we're involved in. Another one is I actually do housing inspections. They may not be aware that I do that.
No, pull me in.
Actually, I inspect new homes. I sign off on the occupancy, the permit for new homes. I also inspect a lot of rental property. When there might be a problem with landlord-tenant, it may not be up to code. There may be some what we call housing code violations, and that can involve anything from lack of heat, hot water, missing smoke detectors, door locks, problems with the appliances. Landlord's responsible for making those repairs, and if they don't, for whatever reason,
Do you have
I
a
would call them.
problem like with rodents and bugs and things like that?
That's also an issue.
Many years ago.
Well,
yeah.
occasionally, it's still a
Occasionally
problem.
that
Yeah,
is
you
a
still do,
problem.
unfortunately, find that problem. Yep.
Yeah. So you're just continually going, really, because I can't see where you'd stop if you've got that many businesses to it and homes and things to
There's always
work
something going on.
Always something going on.
Yep, there's
yeah.
always an issue to deal with.
That's why you're out of the office a lot, too.
That's right.
You're on the road doing something.
That's right.
Okay, why don't we ask Todd now a few questions. Todd, how long have you been with the town, and where did you come from? What's your background?
Okay, I've been with the town for almost 9 years now. Prior to working for the town, I was with the EPA field investigation team doing Superfund investigations. And prior to that, I was with the Department of the Army doing research. If you'd like, I could elaborate on some of the
Go right ahead.
duties that I do.
Well, we'll know how wonderful your fellows really are.
Well, the town does keep us busy, that's for sure. We have 120 local facilities that we inspect and regulate for hazardous materials. Brian and I also review development plans in town for environmental impact, stormwater management, septic impacts, things like that. We also work closely with other departments, looking at emergency planning, working with the fire department, police department, things like that. Also actively involved with a number of pollution prevention programs, both for business and for local residents. People are probably fairly familiar with our household hazardous waste collection program.
Oh, that's a great program.
Which has been a very successful program. We've also recently kicked off a thermometer exchange program, which I actually brought a prop for.
Camera will pick that
We're
up.
collecting mercury thermometers from residents and replacing them with a non-mercury thermometer.
Now, do they work as well, the non-mercury?
They work just as well. These have been adopted by a number of hospitals. These are equally as accurate as your
Because I have some to turn in.
routine
I'm just
oral
asking
thermometer.
you for curiosity.
Yeah, that's why I picked this one. And the reason we're doing that is because mercury thermometers are fairly fragile. They break in the home, and you need to clean them up so you're not perpetually exposed to this toxic material. And frequently what happens when they're broken or no longer needed, they get put in the trash. And unfortunately, we all know all our trash goes to the Neswick incinerator, which unfortunately has the second worst mercury emissions rate in the state of Massachusetts.
And that's when they burn off and whatever.
They burn the trash, the mercury
gets in the air.
Enters the atmosphere.
enters the atmosphere, becomes a risk to the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the food we consume. So we're trying to promote that. We also have a very successful fluorescent light collection program. We're pretty much the model for the Northeast. That's primarily targeted towards
Now,
businesses.
where would they take the light if they wanted to get rid of the lights?
If they want to get rid of the lights, they
fluorescent
can the residents can contact the Board of Health. We're starting to collect residential ones at the office. We just like to coordinate.
Take them, put them together, and then dispose of them? Is that what you're doing?
We do take them at our household hazardous waste collections, but I realize that that's only twice a year. But if you have thermometers or even blood pressure cuffs, that's another device where you find mercury.
Oh, okay.
Or thermostats. We frequently get calls from people who buy homes and they find little vials of mercury left in the basement. If they contact the office, and our telephone number is 270-1955, they can make arrangements with us and we can periodically have those picked up and taken care of. We have also been active, obviously, working in the schools, looking at a variety of environmental health and safety issues.
They had a few of them a couple of years ago there, I guess, wasn't it, with the air and venting or something.
We've looked at the indoor air quality.
There's been other problems too in the past.
And chemical management.
Chemical management, right.
We went through a series of tank removals within the last year at all the schools.
Yes, down the back. I know I went by a few times with the big holes down there dug out. But you're also having a problem now with the runoff from 3A and contaminated area up there that's running off to down through. Has it gotten into the football field or any of that yet that you've been able to determine? I mean, don't tell me that you can't tell me at this point in time.
No, we have about 60 hazardous waste sites, and the problem you're talking about is related to the 3 existing and 1 former gas station on Cambridge Street. And there has been an extensive amount of study involving the problems there. Fortunately, gasoline contamination from those problems have not reached the football field. During that investigation, unfortunately, we did detect chlorinated solvents present at the football field. They're in the groundwater. They're many feet below the surface, so they don't pose a risk to the people using the field. Okay, that's an important thing to get out there. Unfortunately, it is a reportable release. We now have to enter into the Massachusetts Contingency Plan program. The release has been reported to the state. The town has filed for downgradient property status. It's kind of an innocent landowner designation. You know, basically, we didn't cause the problem. We have detected the contamination there, but we didn't cause it. We have an idea where we believe it came from, the state will now be pursuing the investigation
So
of
they
that.
will take over at this point, or
Right.
and make the determination.
There-
You've determined, but I mean, then it's up to
We
them.
have,
Yeah.
we have a good idea, which they tend to agree with, but the Massachusetts contingency plan is a state regulation enforced by the Department of Environmental Protection.
Now, is that mostly the continuation of this because of it being in a water resource area? Is that, would it be more dangerous in a water resource area naturally than if there was no water resource area there? Like we are in the water resource area at that point.
A water resource area is considered more critical and more sensitive, and you have lower reporting requirements, lower allowable concentrations, because the idea is to protect your well field and your water supply.
Right.
You're right. If it was located outside of or away from the well field, it would probably not be as significant.
Okay, so you both work together on certain things, and other projects you don't. Okay, Brian.
That's true.
What other projects don't you work together on?
Don't? Well, some of the other things I get involved in, there's actually some seasonal type inspections I do. I license and inspect public swimming pools in the town. And those would be pools at the apartment complexes, the hotels, the condominiums, the town's pool up at the park. There are requirements that they must meet for safety equipment and for filtration, disinfection of the water. And they do get a license from the Board of Health to
Now,
operate those
Do you
pools.
inspect homes too? In that
No,
sense?
residential pools are exempt.
Exempt,
Those
okay.
do not require any kind of license from the town. Or from the Board of Health, I should say.
So you've got 22 pools, is it?
No, I think it's between, 12 to 14, I think,
12 to
pools.
14
Public
pools?
or semi-public pools.
That you have to...
that we license and
now,
inspect.
how often do you have to inspect them through the
Well,
summer? Like
I inspect them before opening. And typically, they all want to open Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, yeah.
So that week or two, I have to do them all.
Even if it's snowing?
Yeah, that's true. They try to get ready.
Yeah.
And then periodically during the summer.
Uh-huh.
So I'm there a few times
Make
at
sure
each
that
pool.
those using it
That's
stay
right.
healthy.
Oh, yeah. Make sure they're keeping up with the requirements for keeping the water clean, to ensure they have proper lifeguards on duty, the safety equipment's there. So there's a number of requirements they must meet.
Don't get lax in any of that.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's understandable. Okay, so go ahead, go on.
Let's see, some of the other issues we get involved in. Actually, we license and inspect all the tanning salons in town. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. But,
Well, my daughter has gone to tanning salons, and she looks great in the summertime. And I'm still white when the summer finishes.
That's right. And there are some requirements, obviously, that they must meet before their license. And if you ever go to a tanning salon, you'll notice the big red signs in there, sort of giving them all the warnings. So that basically we want to make the consumers aware of the concerns with tanning and to ensure that it is a safe environment.
Safe, yeah. There can be problems with that. I've read a
But they
few
should have
times,
things like eye protection. Obviously the facilities have to be cleaned.
Of course, the more sophisticated, I suppose, that these equipment becomes, that it's less dangerous, but still there is a danger.
Right,
Yeah.
but it's not safer than being out in the sun. They really can't promote it
Can't
that
be
it's
safe
safer.
anywhere now.
That's right. So the same
No.
risks are still present.
Yeah, that's
tanning.
true.
There's a couple of programs we have going on. We have the tobacco control program,
Yes.
which is funded by a grant from the
That
state.
started back quite a while ago, too. I remember
It's-
taping the first show on it.
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
It's been ongoing since 1994. And it deals with, we have a smoking regulation. The town may be aware of that. And basically, restaurants have to provide half their seating as non-smoking. We do regulate smoking in the workplace. We don't allow smoking in common areas. Other areas of the tobacco program involve youth access. We're trying to prevent youth from accessing tobacco. We actually do compliance checks on a regular basis where we go out and we have some underage kids. People call them stings. We call it compliance checks, just to ensure that they are complying with the regulations.
Right.
Initially, we gave offenders warnings if they sold to minors. Now we issue $50 fines. We have a ticketing bylaw that we can utilize to issue the $50 fines. We also sponsor community events. We help to sponsor, through the tobacco program, a concert on the Common. We sponsor one concert. We also sponsor some of the other nice town community events like Pride Day,
Pride Day,
and
yeah.
Dare Day.
Well, that's a wonderful day,
Mhm.
really. I mean, everybody's out there. It's just a great day.
You'll see our tobacco coordinator, usually Deb Hanna,
Right,
with her information. Some of the other typical things that I get in that isn't so much fun is things like nuisances. I have to investigate nuisances, which can be anything from trash, illegal dumping, noises, odors, sewer odors, or different types of odors. I have to investigate those types of issues. Usually it's a complaint that I receive and I have to look into and may take some type of regulatory action against the offender. We also help to coordinate a rabies clinic every year.
That's right, too. I take my dog over there. I don't have my
Yep,
dog.
it's actually a great deal if you go to the rabies clinic. It's cheaper than if you would go to the veterinarian yourself.
I think it was $5 or something like that, was it? Maybe it's a little
It may
more
have been
now.
initially. It has gone up.
Well, a little bit,
I'm
yeah,
not
but
sure what the
that's
price is going to
nothing
be
what it
this
costs you
year.
to go to the,
I think it's been $7 to $10 in the past. This year we're going to hold it on April 8th. Actually, the state is asking that all cities and towns hold it on the same day. They want to publicize a statewide rabies vaccination day, and that's April 8th, and I believe we're going to also hold it on that day.
Put it on your calendar, everybody.
April 8th, down at the Highway Garage on Great Meadow Road.
Same place.
Same place.
Okay.
The Highway Barn.
Good.
Just trying to think of some of the other issues we get involved in. Actually, something that Todd and I both work on is the biotech regulation. The Board of Health has a regulation on biotech labs that involve recombinant DNA. And we have 2 labs, both operating at the Leahy Clinic, that are licensed by the Board of Health. There are certain strict requirements that they must meet. They also have what is called a biosafety committee. It's a committee made up of Todd and I, representatives from Leahy, some community members who sort of oversee and look at the laboratories, what they're doing. We actually do an inspection of both labs. If there are issues of violations, we make note of that. We do a follow-up inspection to ensure that they're corrected. And actually, we just renewed the 2 permits for the 2 labs at Leahy Clinic just this past Board of Health meeting.
So that's done periodically, too.
It's an annual permit, and we
yeah.
attend the annual biosafety committee meeting, and we do at least an annual inspection. In fact, I think this year Todd may do an additional surprise
Want to speak
inspection.
about that, Todd?
Well, we had a couple of issues there that we felt needed to be looked at a little more frequently, and yeah, I will be going back to the clinic and checking just to make sure that the corrections stay in place.
Yeah, sometimes, it's carelessness in a sense in other ways, and then other times it's not. You have to be careful of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's the key. A difference between Brian's job and my job is that if you consider all the things that Brian's described, he deals a lot more with residential type issues with most of his job efforts, whereas much of mine is directed more towards business in town.
Right.
And that's how the duties have been divided.
Well, it's worked very successfully so far, that I can see anyway, between the 2 of you, right?
We have a very strong and dynamic program.
I think so.
I know you do. And you're out a lot of the times, too. I know I've been up town hall different times and you haven't been there, so I know you're out there working yourself, doing things. I know there's office work to do, too, but I'm sure that you have done a lot of the inspections yourself, How many people are working, like, on a part-time basis at the town, at the Board of Health?
Well, I have 2 part-time sanitarians, not working very many hours, actually a total of 15 hours total for the 2 of them, and they do most of my restaurant inspections for me.
Specific things like
That's right,
that,
just specifically doing the restaurant inspections. And then I have the tobacco control program where I have the part-time nurse also working part-time as the tobacco control coordinator.
She coordinates it. Very good.
That's
And how about
basically
yourself now, Todd? Is anyone up there? Or is it just you?
It's just me.
you? Yeah.
We're not a very big
goodness,
department.
Right. We are a small department.
Well, that's right, too. But still, I mean, you seem to be effective in getting a lot done. And I know I've watch the Board of Health meetings quite a bit. And in fact, I watch most all the meetings at one time or another through the week. But I noticed that having a lot of things like this, the main thing I think that has been programmed this past few months has been the Cambridge Street problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of things up there, so I know that it's constant.
Right. And any new development where they submit plans to the planning board, site plans.
Well, we have a lot of those.
A lot of those
coming,
subdivisions.
right? We've got a
They
lot
come to the Board of Health as well.
Right.
A lot of
and we
big
review
projects
those.
coming online that you're going to have a lot of work to be done on that too, I'm sure.
Right.
What is the first thing you do when a new project or a large development comes in? What is your first thing?
Well, through the years, Brian and I have developed kind of a checklist of standard concerns that we've historically noted at sites that we use as kind of a screening tool to prompt us. These are things we should consider. Examples would be looking at the stormwater management. We want to make sure that we don't cause any flooding problems, that the development will comply with state and local drainage requirements for flood control, but pollution attenuation, which is also a big thing. We don't want to add sodium to the local water supply. We also want to keep oil and grease out of the local water supply. We look at the development to see if are there any environmental issues associated with the property or neighboring properties that could impact the development design. Those tend to be the two primary areas that we focus on.
Right.
And there are many facets to those.
Well, of course, and
categories.
as the project develops, then you're constantly working on that too to make sure that they follow through with all of the things that you have told them they had to do.
Right. And in most cases, we'll meet in the office with the engineer, the designer, to go over those issues. And sometimes you have a site or an application before the town that can be very complex, and there's really some issues that we're not clear on and need better resolution, and there's a process in town called a peer review. We have that authority as well as planning and conservation, where we can have the applicant pay for an independent engineer to look at the application and answer questions that we have. So, and we've had a number of those peer reviews done on applications before the town, and that way the plan has been modified to take care of those issues so that we don't have a problem with the drainage system or an environmental impact.
And I know you work like with conservation. They all have their input.
Yes.
Right.
And then you sort of look those over and see if everything is copacetic, so to speak.
That's right.
And
We all have our areas, although a lot of it does overlap, conservation and our department, I think, very
well, it's
strongly
almost
looking
like
at drainage.
the checks and balances that you really need in town
Mhm.
government, and unfortunately sometimes you don't get, but I mean most of the time through the health department and conservation, I think they have a very good working scheme going with the two
Yeah, there's a
boards.
strong working relationship
Yeah.
between the two groups.
Right.
And I think there's good communication among
oh,
all the
absolutely.
parties, and planning as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, we've got a few more minutes now, so I want to touch on some things that perhaps we haven't touched on. Now, this year they're going to have the what do you call it, environmental, they picking up of the paints and oils and cans and
The
stuff.
household hazardous waste collection day.
Waste collection. Now, when is that going to be? Is there
That's
any
May
date?
13th
That's May 13th.
at the high
Put that on your
school.
calendar, everybody, and start digging, because I know, we tend to get a little lazy sometimes and not going through the stuff. We push it in the corner, and a little more in the corner, and really it could be out of your way and in a safe place, and give you more room too, or in your cellars and garages and whatever.
And it's properly recycled, and it doesn't go to the incinerator and burn and
Right.
and enter our environment.
And
I know
there's-
you're doing a great job. My husband is taking things up there. We still have some more. We're digging out stuff all the time to try and get rid of it. So that's May and
The Rabies Clinic, April 8th.
8th. Okay, so put all of these on your schedule now, ladies and gentlemen out there.
A couple other programs we have ongoing during the winter is our radon program.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask you. I had it on my mind last night. I said, I want to talk about the radon program.
We provide radon test kits at a cost of $20. Residents can come
Now,
in.
is that simple to do now?
It's very simple. There are 2 test canisters in the kit, And basically, it absorbs radon. Basically, you just open up the canisters, you place them in 2 locations in the home. All the information comes with it. There's a sheet with it to record the day and time, when you start the test and when you finish it. And once you're done, you cap them. You put it back in the canister. There's a mailing label. Attach it, and mail it directly back to the lab.
Now, what's the best place to put these if you have them here? Is it cellar? Is it the cellar area?
Well,
or
generally
in through the house or what?
We recommend the lowest livable area. So if you have a finished basement, put one down there, and then one up, 1 floor above.
1 floor above. I know that's information. You know, a lot of people have talked about that. You know, whether they have or not, but it's a good thing to check. You know,
it's a good idea.
Yeah.
And what we always recommend, if you do find an elevated level, don't panic.
No.
The best thing to do is probably recheck, retest. During the winter, when you test, is typically what we consider a worst-case scenario, because the home is closed up, you have less ventilation during the cold weather months. Typically, you'll find your highest levels then of radon.
Yeah, very good. Now, we got off onto the radon, but I want to get back to the chemicals and things that you collect up at the school. That's at the high school now,
It's at the high school.
Now, is that in the back around the area here?
It's in the faculty parking lot near the rocks with the graffiti.
All the pretty things.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And one very good thing this year is that we will be taking the grill cylinders, the propane cylinders. We usually get inundated with calls, and this year we'll be taking those for the first time.
Now, that'll be that same day. Everything will go.
That's the same day.
Uh-huh.
I think that'll be very popular.
Well, I'm sure it will be. I have electric, but I mean, or I have the, what do you call them? Stoves.
The charcoal?
The charcoal. Yeah. And I use that. I have a 7-foot grill I built myself out in the backyard, all the brick and everything. And it's been up for years and years. I did it when I was young. I would never be able to do that today, believe me. But that's what I use. But that's good to know. It's good information, and for people out there to know that they can do that. And you've really added quite a bit to this program over the years. To the
we've gone from a single collection to 2 collections per year.
Right.
And it has grown quite a bit.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of it.
I read in the official thing that you had about 525 participants in it. Was it somewhere around there?
Yes.
This year? Well, we'll see a whole lot maybe with a little information going out to the public. Well, I guess our time is just about up, and we've got to say goodbye. And I want to thank you very much for being my guest.
Thank you for having us.
And I hope you'll come back again, and we'll talk about this again and maybe get information out. Some people miss it and they don't see it, and we can at least keep throwing it out there so that they have the proper information. And thanks a million.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks.